Well, it's like with any relationship, with your spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It takes work. It takes good communication. You need to kind of have a better understanding of what the other person's looking for. I think from a client standpoint, that's one of the key things, is to figure out what that person is trying to accomplish. It isn't the company, it's the person that you're dealing with. I've had hotel clients that our point of contact was the reservation supervisor, because they don't have specifically marketing, and she worked for the revenue manager, who was our main contact. These are people that have no idea what we do, but those are the kinds of people that we have to deal with to try to extract what it is we need to be able to, whether it's fix the website or get the social media up and running. So it really takes a lot of effort.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Clients, Less Efforts. I am joined by an incredibly experienced marketer and guest today in the form of Ross Brozevar, who's coming to me from almost the opposite side of the world, if we were to drill a hole through it, I think, Ross, from the Caribbean island of Aruba. Ross, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's great to chat. We've connected through a mutual connection. We chatted last week a little bit in a somewhat aborted attempt at this podcast when I had no voice whatsoever.
No, you didn't.
But I'm almost over my cold, and it's great to have you back on. Now, Ross, you've been in the marketing game for an incredibly long time and have got like almost a who's who of brand name clients like the Marriotts and Hooters and Benihana and Domino's Pizza, amongst others, incredible list of clientele. And you've sort of built that over a very, very long time. And I'm actually sort of excited to sort of drill into some of the things that you've been doing over that time. But first up, mate, let's talk about the sort of big elephant in the room. How does one find themselves to be living on a Caribbean island?
Yes, most people will work and live their life until they can retire and move to a Caribbean island. I did it just the complete opposite. But the simple truth is, it was a woman. We met in the States. She was doing her internship at the hotel that I was working at. And this was 36 years ago. Had no idea where Aruba was at the time. But I told my boss, I'm following her, and the rest is history.
There we go. So that was back in the 90s. I mean, were you working in marketing at that stage, or I know you've got a big hospitality and hotel background. How did you find yourself going from that into the marketing space, or was it just, I'm here in Aruba now, what does one do?
No, but what brought me to Aruba was Hyatt Regency Corporation. So we opened the Hyatt Regency here in 1990. And it was really at that time. Now, I had, believe it or not, in 1979, 80, 81, 82, when I was in high school, I actually went to a very large high school. We actually had a computer lab. And I absolutely loved the computers. Now we're talking old school, right? We're talking basic, COBOL, key card, key punch machines, the big stacks, that kind of computerized. But I used to love computers. And when I moved to Aruba, it was one of the first hotel jobs that I had that I actually had to work with computers more often. And that was way back in the old Windows days, when Windows was coming out and you had Word Perfect. Those were like, oh my God, instead of trying to type on a typewriter, you could actually put it into a Word doc. So
on a 1/4-inch floppy disk.
Yes, exactly. You remember those. And I really enjoyed it so much that and I'm not the computer geek kind of computer side of it, but I like the logic behind it. I like the understanding of how things work. So I thought, what can I do to be creative? Because that's really one thing that I've been most of my life. And when we left here, I actually went back to the States to open another Hyatt. And while waiting for the hotel to open, I went back to school and finished my degree, and I switched over to information technologies. And it was a great curriculum because it was a sort of a hybrid between business and IT. So I could actually talk the language of the business people, but then I could also talk, at least to some degree, the computer guys' language. And that helped a lot. But it was mainly because of that. And then when I moved back to Aruba, we were just starting to build websites. My first website was in Bath County, Virginia, which is the county seat. And it was the most horrific website I've ever seen. It was horrible, but I was it. It was a small town of like 500 people. So I got lucky that way. And my first project here was websites, because when I got here, websites was still kind of a thing. Like, why do I need a website? What is this internet thing you talk about? So that's kind of how I got started.
Yeah, I must admit, I reflecting as you said that, because I did information technology at uni as well, as my dog comes in and joins us for tonight's podcast.
Nice.
And yeah, I remember my COBOL, because I learned to program in COBOL as well. And I distinctly recall my lecturer he would mark in 1,000th of a point of a percentage. And I don't know why he did that. But yeah, I've had very similar to you. And I found myself being the guy that had to kind of stand on stage to present the tech projects, because my more nerdy companions and compatriots in my class, they were good at the tech stuff, the coding, but they tried to talk to an audience to convey what it is we actually wanted to do was very, very difficult. And I know that back in the 90s, this internet thing was brand new. And what do I need a website for? I didn't even know what this is. And they were horrible, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my partner, luckily the guy behind me about my age at the time, also went back to school, and we partnered up on most of our projects. And he was the nth degree, really dug down deep, and we always got stuck on stuff because we were drilling in too deep, and I was the big picture guy. Same kind of thing. He was the techie, and I was well, hold on, let's take a look at the flow. Let's take a look at the what we're trying to organize here. So I can definitely empathize.
I think that's a really important skill to have. We talk about this in entrepreneurship and in business, and we know how important having that website is. It's really that place where we can articulate what it is we do for clients, but we can't lose sight, as you say, of that bigger picture. This is a piece of technology, or this is a piece of marketing collateral that we might put it in. And that's a hybrid between the two, but we can't lose sight of what this thing is actually for. Okay, roll me forward. You're building websites.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
No, what I was going to say was, when I sit down with a new prospective client, I really do it this way. I say, where are you today, and where is it that you want to go? And then we'll try to fill in the gaps to figure out how the best way to get there, or most efficient, easiest for everybody. Because that's typically what no one really that you're talking to on the other side cares or knows enough about what you're doing technically, that all they want to do is that I want to get from here to there. Okay, let's see how we get you there.
Well, I think that's the same in everything, though. And we have our skills, and I'm here and I want to get to over there. And how does that going to happen?
So what I was saying was, when you sit down with a client, the easiest way to describe it is, where are you today and where do you want to go? And then what we try to do is our best way, the most efficient way to get you from point A to point B. And we try to fill in those gaps. Talking technically doesn't really help.
Yeah, I completely understand. That's certainly the thing that we do with our clients as well. And the technical detail, right? The website or the Google ads or your social media content or your CRM really are just tools that help you kind of plug that gap, isn't it? Okay,
absolutely.
Roll me forward. Yep. Building terrible websites for Bath County. We've just moved back to Aruba following the girl.
Yeah.
I just presume we were still working with the Hyatt Regency group at that stage, or had you kind of gone, I'm going to do this myself?
No. What brought us back to Aruba was my wife, headhunter founder. We were on vacation here, so that brought us back. But by then, I had stepped out of the hotel business. My wife was promoted to a company in Virginia. That's what took us there, and I got to stay at home with our firstborn. And I took him to, when I taught community college classes, he was with me. If I went to the high school to mentor, he was with me. Church, soccer field, he was on my back most of the time. So he went everywhere, and I was the stay-at-home dad way back in that time. And so yeah, it was pretty nice. But when we got back to Aruba, I thought, hey, let's do this here. No one else was doing it. There was one other guy that was selling websites, but he wasn't from Aruba. He would fly in from Holland. And believe it or not, my first project here wasn't actually me building. I was hired by two women who owned a wedding company that they put on weddings. They had hired this 15-year-old kid to build a website, and they wanted to hire me to babysit, basically, because he did really good work, but had no concept of business, had no concept of, well, deadlines. Where are you? 3 days, I haven't heard from you, that kind of thing, right? Yep. So that was my first job here.
Is that something you just sort of fell into? Because I know so many entrepreneurs just fall into business, right? We do one thing and someone says, "Oh, can you do that for me too?" And then another one comes along, another one. Was there a real intent to build a web development agency at that stage? Or let me rephrase, right? Because web development agencies didn't exist in the 90s, but was there a real intent to go, I think there's an opportunity here to go down?
Yeah, I would like to say yes. I think at that point, my wife and I were still trying to figure out what we were going to do. We were having our second child on the way in the late 90s. And about 2000, I said, I think I'm going to do this on my own. So I started my business. I had to incorporate. Actually, I didn't do it in incorporation. It was like a sole proprietorship. They call it Eenmanszaak in Dutch. And so I started that. And it's kind of like what you said. There's very few people that others know that do this kind of stuff. So they go, you should talk to Ross. And it's funny because I think even to this day, 23 years in, even my clients that I've had for many years probably don't even know the name of my company because they only deal with me, right? So, or I'll run into somebody I haven't seen in years. Oh, you're still in IT. IT. I haven't done IT in 100 years, but that's just because of the moniker that has sort of followed me along. So, to your point, yeah, I think you need to talk to Ross because he knows about that stuff.
Yeah. So how do you go from that to kind of winning these big household names? Talk me through that journey, because that's not a natural transition. It's not suddenly I wake up the next day and having drinks down at the club with the head of Domino's.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay, so there's 2 points here. One is we had actually moved from Aruba to Curacao, which is the island next door. And for those 3 years that we're there, I actually kind of stepped back a little bit. I had someone local to help me with some of the clients I had at the hotels, but I really wasn't pushing it. But while I was there, I made the decision that when I moved back to Aruba, I was going to incorporate. I was going to become an agency. That was in my mind, thinking I really wanted to go big. So from Curacao, I worked on getting the incorporation done. I came back to Aruba. The very first thing I did while I was here was to go back to my dentist for my checkup. And I see an old friend, someone I knew for many years, who was the franchisee from Domino's Pizza. We were there at the dentist at the exact same time, both going like this. And we said, oh, we should hook up. We should chit chat, because I had been gone for 3 years. And so we did. And he said, well, could you help me with a project because they had an agency. But as time went on, that I think it was like the latter part of the year, he said, nah, it's not working the way I want. So then he went to the biggest agency on the island. And I had proposed to him, I said, listen, instead of paying hourly, why don't you give me a retainer? And so I know how much I've got coming in every month and how much you have going out every month. And he decided to go with the big agency because he wanted to blow it up. I don't think he lasted 2 months. And then he called me back and he said, listen, we need to talk and rediscuss this, because you pick up the phone, 15 minutes. They pick up the phone. I mean, he was getting billed like for everything. And honestly, to be honest with you, my first thought was just get Domino's as a client, because there's no one on the planet who doesn't know who Domino's is. That's really what I was thinking, was from a portfolio standpoint. I mean, we had a good relationship, and we have really a very good relationship now. We've been over 7 years now managing every aspect. We work with corporate up in the States when we deal with the website and mobile app, because we have that technical background. Of course, we manage all aspects of the marketing, social media, and the whole thing. But it's interesting, the manager of Hooters and Benihana, they're both franchisees from someone else that we had just picked up in 2020 when the shit hit the fan. We helped them with an online ordering system because they weren't obviously doing that then. And he passed away unexpectedly. He was younger than I was, and I was traveling at the time. And so I got back and I sat down with the franchise owner from Domino's. I said, what happens if something happens? This was starting to make me think about this. And he said, what? Honestly, the team I've got, my operations manager is awesome. He knows what he's doing. Luz does her stuff in the office. I got everything's set, ready to go. He says, to be honest with you, I'm actually more scared if something happens to you. I said, why me? He says, because you guys are doing things I have no idea what you're doing or how you're doing it, and I would be lost. So I thought that, well, that's pretty good, and we have a really good, solid relationship. So
I think that's a key, right? It's building the relationship, and so much of your business has been built off some opportunistic relationships, but relationships nonetheless. And it's so critical to kind of understand and go, okay, how can we work together? As you said before, and you're here, yeah. Where do you want to go to, right? And keep that relationship open. I think when we look at marketing in general, we think marketing, and so many people think marketing is just the customer acquisition, right? It's my website, as you said, it's my social media ads, and I just do it once. But marketing is so much of marketing is about how we keep the relationship alive with our clients as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's like with any relationship, with your spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It takes work. It takes good communication. You need to kind of have a better understanding of what the other person's looking for. I think from a client standpoint, that's one of the key things, is to figure out what that person is trying to accomplish. It isn't the company, it's the person that you're dealing with. I've had hotel clients that our point of contact was the reservation supervisor, because they don't have specifically marketing, and she worked for the revenue manager, who was our main contact. These are people that have no idea what we do, but those are the kinds of people that we have to deal with to try to extract what it is we need to be able to, whether it's fix the website or get the social media up and running. So it really takes a lot of effort. Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me about a system, and let's pivot. Let's talk to me about a system that you have in your business that you rely on and gives you a huge amount of leverage in how you acquire clients.
I think I won't say it's a system. I think the people that I have on my team are awesome. And first and foremost, the people give me the confidence to be able to go out and almost say yes to anything, because I know their capacity for creativeness, their capacity to fix stuff. We do a lot of nonprofit work as well. And it's really helpful because they can just on a dime fix things for us. So I think when I leverage anything, it's leveraging the knowledge that I have a team that I can rely on, even if I'm not here. From a system standpoint, I honestly, I think the biggest one would be probably Go High Level, which is our CRM platform. We call it RAMP. Our company name is ROI Marketing, or Aruba ROI Marketing. And we try to build that in. And the fact that there's ROI, automation, marketing platform, we're trying to ramp you up, right? And simply that it gives us so many different options that when I'm sitting across from somebody, it doesn't matter what they say, I almost inevitably can figure out a way to help them with even just that one platform. It isn't the end all be all. I mean, there's obviously other things that have to happen. We've built some ticketing systems that we use for some other things, loyalty gift cards, not in High Level, but we've designed our own to work with other systems to work with High Level, so that it gives our capacity for automation and the ability to really push it out there and get it done easily. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I know I'm very familiar with High Level, and for our listeners who aren't familiar with High Level, it's a relatively new CRM platform on the market. And CRM, although it technically stands for contact or customer relationship management, I love to spin that and make it contact relationship management, right? Because we can manage any contact. And the core of that CRM is being able to capture and record information about the relationships that we need to manage. Right. And very cool thing about High Level is it's got a lot of other things that we typically use in our marketing, such as course material, either for customers or even for staff, right? Yeah. Automations and workflows, reporting, calling, all sorts of stuff, sort of all built into that one platform, which is really awesome. So yeah, I think if you haven't got a CRM, raise your hand, because that's the thing that really helps you scale massively, doesn't it?
It does. So every week for the last 70 plus weeks, I do a Wednesday Facebook Live. It's called the Coffee Break. We literally take our coffee break in the morning for 10 minutes, and I just share tips, ideas, thoughts, obviously around marketing, but also communication and technology. We'll be doing one in the next couple of weeks on AI. And there are any type of tip you're out there talking to people about. It's what you mentioned earlier. It's trying to manage getting a flow of customers, right? But even if they don't become customers, if they're somehow following you on social or whatever, if you can get them to do something, take an action, whether it's fill in a form, sign up for a newsletter, whatever it is, you have the capacity to start building a relationship with, and then maintaining that relationship. And like we mentioned earlier about relationships, that's really where it's key. And I think marketing sort of encapsulates that, right? I mean, if you drill down to the core, we don't have this without each other, right? I don't have a marketing company if I don't have a customer, or if that customer doesn't have their own customers, it falls apart. So I think that's really it's new, because it's not something that, especially the tech guys, we wouldn't have thought of that this is where it would be the core to. But we found it started in 2019, and they just keep making it better and better. So yeah,
I was just reflecting as you said that and going, what is marketing in general? And my son had a business assignment, year 11 business just last year.
Nice.
And the question that he actually brought it to me and said, well, Dad, you're in marketing. What the hell's going on here? And the question that was asked by his teacher, mind you, having never been a marketer or owned a business herself, was respond to this question. Marketing is inherently evil. Discuss.
Interesting.
And so it went on, and obviously this was her positioning around it's the how we push products upon people who don't need or want them. And I thought that's a really interesting kind of perspective about marketing, because I know that's not one that you share, right? Marketing is about building relationships to the point where we provide value to each other.
Right.
And I love this on LinkedIn, because whenever you connect with someone and it says, I'm not buying anything today, I'll say, well, that's good, because I don't know if I like you enough to want to sell something to you.
Exactly.
Right? But if you've got a problem that I can help, well, let's talk and see if we're a good fit. But that, to me, that is what marketing is. Marketing really is about the building and maintaining of relationships to the point where we become valuable to each other. I know that I'm happy to share. And if you want help implementing it, hit us up. If you don't want help implementing, you want to give it a go yourself, by all means, go for it. And the game is changing so quickly with AI, of course, that if you're not in front of it, well, you're going to miss the wave.
Yes.
Someone else is going to, it is, right? There's a constant struggle in the marketplace for ascendancy. If you're not growing, someone else will be taking that opportunity in front of you. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Now, our listeners know that I do a regular quick fire at the end, and I did pre-warn you with these ones a little bit, but let's finish out today's podcast with some quick questions for you. What do you think is the one unique skill that you have that's helped you be successful?
Skill, or just, I think I have the innate, meaning that it's inside of me, right? The innate ability to just be positive, and my sort of outgoingness makes it very easy for me to talk to anyone almost about anything, anywhere. You mentioned earlier about opportunities. I am that kind of person that I am always thinking in the back of my mind about opportunities, because you don't know when they're going to pop up. So if you're not prepared or ready for it, you will miss it and go, my God, why didn't I say something, right? So I think my skill of just being a good communicator and being genuinely outgoing and positive, I think that's really what helps.
Yeah, love that. I still remember a fridge magnet I saw in a friend's fridge. God, it must be 20 years ago now. It said, opportunity doesn't knock, right? You are the opportunity. You open the door.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I love it.
You're just taking absolutely fantastic. And like when you were teaching, you talked about how effective your team are at doing stuff, right? That your business could run without you, which is like where we want to get it to, right? We want to be able to do the things,
Absolutely.
we want to have the lifestyle that our business is going to facilitate, not be necessarily tied to it. But if we can't convey that genius inside you into a system or an automation or a CRM or something, or people to execute on your behalf, you'll never get there. So definitely check out the PB&J video.
Okay, will do.
Two more questions. First of those, what is your favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs?
If you were to ask my wife that, she'd be like, really, you're asking Ross that question? Because I am one of those that I can accomplish a lot of things, but in such a haphazard way, you'd almost not even know. Like I'll jump from one thing to another just because my mind will address something and I can move to it and then go back and I can do. So I can't say that it's a hack, but I will say this. I found this last November, the life hack method. I think it's what it's called, the Life Tribe. And I'll have to send you the link, because then I should have looked it up. But this Demir Bentley and his wife, they live in Colombia. They started this years ago. They have boot camps. They have this whole program. And I finally decided I needed someone to guide me. And they have absolutely some incredibly good hacks, I guess, for lack of a better word. But what I loved so much about it, it was detailed in a path. I had to follow this journey to get to where I needed to go. And luckily I found it in the end of November. So by December, they were having their annual sort of pre-planning year. So for us, so I've definitely jumped on that. It helped me to not only create my vision for the year, but like in 12 months from now, what could I see myself doing 5 years down the road? And then it taught us on how to fill in these gaps, these steps to getting there. And then every Friday, although I've been a little lax lately, but every Friday I would go off. That's what they said. Don't do it in your office. Don't do it at home. Go off somewhere to your favorite place, have a nice drink or whatever, and think about the next week to week and a half of what you need to do and start to fill in those little gaps so that when the week gets here, you already know exactly what you're going after. I'll send you the link. I actually think it's one of the best things that's ever happened for me.
Yeah, I love that. There's something about it, so much about planning, intentionality,
yes,
and accountability to getting where you want to go. I love that. Last question. Where can we find you? Where can we watch you doing your coffee break? Where can we visit you and have cocktails on the beach?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I never get invited anywhere. They always say, oh, we'll come down.
You can come to Australia anytime. I have no beach here.
And that is on my list, actually. That was one of my 5-year goal, because my wife wants to retire within that time. I chose Australia because she wants to go to Australia and New Zealand. So
there we go.
Okay, so rossbrezovar.com is my mobile profile. So I use it for my those business cards that are digital that you just tap. I've got a tap card or QR code. But if you go to Aruba, ROI, so return on investment, so arubaroi.com. That's our website. Just like pretty much any other marketer, I'm horrible at my own stuff, but it does give a pretty good synopsis of what we do. And we are bringing some new products to the marketplace soon. So that's where it'll be.
Fantastic. Excited to check it out, mate. Excited to have you come out and visit in Australia. Excited to bring my wife out sometime.
Absolutely. A house swap, maybe.
Done. Sounds good. Guys, thanks for joining us again on another episode of More Clients, Less Effort. Ross, really appreciate you joining us and share some of your wisdom developed over the last 25 years in marketing and few more years in IT and talking about where things are going and some of the fantastic tips that you've shared with us today about how that you've generated your success. And hopefully you listeners who have joined us on this episode will get to take away some thoughts and ideas from that as well that you can put into your own business and into your own life. Again, Ross, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.